All right, quiz number 4 today. Okay, what are the Arabs who wander from place to place with their herds called? Tristan? Sorry? Not exactly. They are nomads, but the Arabs, the specific one. Bedouins. Which people left an alphabet as their most important contribution to the world, Adam? The Phoenicians. Which people were among the first people? Not the Phoenicians, was it?
The Hittites. The Phoenicians, Hittites are the ones.
I think it is the Phoenicians, but it might be. Give me 1 second.
Phoenicians.
I think it might be.
The Phoenicians.
Uh-huh. Yes, the Phoenicians. Great job. All right. What people were among the first to build an empire? Josiah. The Hittites. Which people were the first to mint coins? Minting coins. Emmeline?
The
Lydians. Number 5. Which people were the descendants of Abraham? Landon? Not the descendants of Abraham. Shane, who are the descendants of Abraham? Please take off your hat. The Israelites? What's another name for the Israelites, Adam?
Can I go get a tissue?
What's another name for the Israelites?
The Midianites?
Not the Midianites, but yes, you can go to tissue. Cameron?
The Romans?
Not the Romans. Tony?
Hebrews.
The Hebrews, okay? Make sure you guys know which is the Tigris River. What is the Mesopotamia? We already know that one. Okay, the Red Sea. Make sure you guys know where the Red Sea is, where Mount Sinai is, and Jerusalem. Okay, let's go ahead and go over that really quickly. Okay, Adam, please turn all the way around. Okay. Okay. Let's look up at the board or at the TV. If I can find the end of this thing. All right. You can tell me what number or letter B is. Livy? Mount Sinai. Okay. What is letter or number 11? What city is that, Ariel? Jerusalem. Okay. What letter is Mesopotamia? Tristan? E. Letter E. Where is, yes? Oh, yeah. Gavin, can you close the blinds, please? Okay. Where is the Red Sea? What number is the Red Sea? Okay, Adam?
It's letter 2. No, I mean number 2.
Number 2. Good. Okay. Where is the Tigris River? Yep.
The Red Sea.
The Red Sea. It's number 2. Okay. Where is the Tigris River? What number? Shane?
3.
Number 3. Good. Okay. All right. Clear your desk. Please stop doing that. Don't know why you feel the need to do that, but we don't do that. Okay, put everything away. Get out a pen or a pencil. We are going to take quiz number 4. Okay, Adam, go ahead and put your book away. Here you go, Shane. You may begin once you've received your quiz. Please put your book away, Adam. Whose Louis Vuitton mask is that?
That's right.
Well, make sure you wear it. Why are you asking for a mask if you have one? Who knocked off of all of Olive's stuff and did not pick it up?
Not me. But I'll
I'm looking at two people.
You have cameras in here? Are you looking at me?
No.
It wasn't me and Adam. We fell.
You fell this way and it knocked everything off.
You weren't even. Yeah, you weren't here.
He wasn't here. All right, guys, make sure you are taking your quiz, okay? And then we will begin our lecture in a few minutes.
What's the lecture? Is there a lecture?
A lecture is the lesson that we are going to go over today. Yes? Yeah, put him the other way. Yeah. Raising your hand. You guys done? Good. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. What about him? You have a choice between the nomads, the Lydians, the Hebrews, and the middlemen. It gives you hints, so you need to know who minted the first coins. Okay. Good. I'm not saying yes or no. Yep. You done? You're good. Good. Thank you. Okay. That's all the clues right there. You just have to choose which one. Who are the Arabs who wander from place to place with their herds? What did we call them? And then which people left behind the alphabet? And then who were the people to build an empire? Who were the first people to make coins? And then who were the people that were descendants of Abraham? Thank you. Thank you. Yep. No. You have multiple choice. Okay, you need to choose one and put it in the blank. You're not leaving anything blank. Thank you. All right, Cameron and Tony, go ahead and finish up, and then we will start with our lesson. For those of you who are done with your quiz, you got your history books. Okay. Please turn around, open your history book. Yep. Okay, you got to figure that one out. There's between the Hittites, the Bedouins, the Phoenicians, and the Hebrews. Okay? Who left an alphabet and who were the empire builders? You have to choose one. Okay? You done? You got to put in your answers. Okay? You have 4 answers that you can put, so you need to put some down so that we can move on. Yeah. Okay, you should have your history books open to page number 1 second. Cameron, you have a quiz. Cannot be talking to people. Okay, page number 35. Today we're going to learn about the Canaanites. Talking about the Canaanites, okay? Yesterday we talked about the descendants of Abraham. Who is that, class? Who are the descendants of Abraham? The Hebrews, okay? That's who we talked about. They were the descendants of Abraham. God gave the Hebrews what are the God's basic rules for right and wrong? God gave them to the Hebrews on Mount Sinai. We kind of practice them. It's the thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. What are those called? Tony? Not the Testaments. Hooking up a mouth, Shane. The 10 Commandments. Good. So that is who God gave the 10 Commandments to. He gave them to the Hebrews, okay? What land did God promise Abraham? Ariel? Canaan. So Canaan was the promised land, bless you, that God gave them, or gave to Abraham. So let's learn about Canaan, okay? Canaan. Canaan was the name of one of Noah's grandsons. The Canaanites, whom the Hebrews were told to conquer, were the descendants of Canaan. There were also settlers from other countries in the land of Canaan because of the land's favorable location. Let's read about their religion. Gavin, please stand and read about the Canaanites' religion.
Canaanites worship many false gods, but their religious ceremonies were far toward what we would consider worship. The religion encouraged them to do horrible, wicked deeds. They held wild dances and rituals that included the sacrifices of human beings, even children and helpless victims were sacrificed to them. The most well-known of the Canaanite gods was
Baal. Highlight that. He was considered the god of war and storms. Thank you, Gavin. Okay. The most well-known of the Canaanite gods was who, class? Baal. Okay. One of the many hills in Canaan were places of worship called high places. Obviously, it's on a hill. Okay, there were also wooded areas called groves. Both high places and groves were outdoor places where the Canaanites worshiped their gods and made their sacrifices. All right, let's get Canaan's importance in world history. Tony, can you please stand and read about Canaan's importance in world history? Sadly,
the Canaanites did not leave any important communities in the pages of the world history. They were so involved in the wicked practices that they had no time for great
accomplishments. Highlight that. The Canaanites were so involved in their wicked practices that they had no time for great accomplishments. Isn't that really sad? Yes, Adam. We are on page 36. Okay? The Canaanites' importance in world history. Okay? The Canaanites did not leave any important deeds because they were so involved in their wicked practices that they had no time for great accomplishments. Okay? Continue reading.
Is it any wonder that God wanted to take this land away from them and give it to the descendants of Abraham? The Canaanites were not important to history,
Highlight in your book.
the land of Canaan became extremely important because of the plans that God had for Abraham's descendants and the
Entire world. Okay? Thank you. So, the land of Canaan is what God promised Abraham and to the Israelites, right? So, after we saw that Moses led them out of the land of Egypt, they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. And they were supposed, the end result of after that 40 years, the promised land was Canaan. Okay? So, when God wanted to bring victory to the Israelites, let's read about what he did in the conquest of Canaan. Okay? God, as judge of the universe, brought judgment upon the wicked practices of the heathen people in the land of Canaan. He ordered the Israelites to destroy all the Canaanites and their neighbors. The Israelites obeyed only partly, and the wicked nations that were left caused them many problems in the years to come. God fought for the Israelites. Highlight the Israelites. God fought for the Israelites many times as they sought to conquer the land. Okay, the Israelites took the walled city of Jericho with no other weapons than shouts and trumpet blasts. Make sure you highlight Jericho. Okay, and God allowed the Israelites to conquer Jericho with no other weapons. Highlight that. Then shouts and trumpet blasts. Okay, you guys know the story of Joshua and the Battle of Jericho? So that was the one when Jericho was going to go, when Joshua was going to go conquer the city of Jericho. That was a story when they walked around the city 7 times. Okay? And then on the 7th day, God allowed them to shout and the walls came tumbling down. It's kind of crazy that God, only God can do that for Israel. Okay? Let's read as Israel as a nation. Okay, on the very bottom on page number 36. Okay, the period of Judges. So when they were a nation, we saw that obviously presidents, they rule what class? What did they rule? Republics. Okay, there are absolute monarchies. There are kings and queens. At this time in history, they had people called judges, and they weren't exactly kings or queens. These are the people that the Israelites listened to. Okay, let's look at page 36. Because the Israelites failed to drive all the Canaanites out of the land, many Israelites began worshiping the false Canaanite gods. Isn't that sad? Whenever they did this, God allowed the enemies in the surrounding areas to come in and do the Israelites much harm. Then the Israelites would cry out to God in repentance, and God would send a leader called a judge to deliver them. The judges were chosen by God, who was the true king of Israel. This cycle of idolatry, conquest, repentance, and deliverance was repeated again and again in the first 300 years after Israel first returned to Canaan, okay? This means when, at this period of time, there were judges that ruled the nation of Israel, okay? They're not exactly kings and queens, but these were the people that God appointed to oversee Israel and make sure that it wasn't, doing wrong things, okay? Whenever there wasn't a judge, Israel would fall into sin and start worshiping Canaanite gods. They would worship Baal instead of the true God. Okay, that's what happened, and then they began to sin against the Lord. And then when they were sinning against the Lord and they were worshiping all these false gods, God would send people from outside of Canaan, like their enemies, to destroy them or to harm them or to attack them, because God's like, I've had enough. This is the only way for you guys to turn to me. Here are some enemies that will attack. So whenever they got attacked, then they would be like, Lord, help us, save us. And then God would send a judge. And this is saying how that whole cycle of worshiping false gods, then coming under attack or being under attack, and then turning back to God, continued on for the first 300 years of Israel. So there was a period of the judges. After that, the Israelites wanted a king. Let's read about the first king of Israel, okay? Let's read at the top of the page. The first king. Who was the first king, class? Saul. Highlight that. Saul was the first king. Okay? Saul was the first king. He was a great military leader. But the sad thing was, what does it say, class? He disobeyed God. Okay? That's kind of like Josiah's parents or his dad that we saw in the last lesson in Bible. Remember, we saw that Ammon and Manasseh, his grandfather and his father, they worshipped false gods. Okay? They were kings that worshiped false gods, but the first king of Israel was Saul, and then he ended up disobeying God, and his son was not allowed to rule after him because that was a punishment that God gave to Saul. So, who did God choose to rule after King Saul? What does it say? David. Highlight that. God then chose David, a man after God's own heart, to be king. King David was beloved of God and the people. Under the leadership of David, Israel defeated almost all of its enemies. Okay? God chose David. The first king was who, class? David. Saul. Okay? Let's read about David's son. Who's David's son? Solomon. Highlight David's son, Solomon. Okay, he was the third king of Israel. King Solomon was the richest and wisest man who ever lived. Okay, he was the richest. God blessed him, but he was also the wisest man ever in the history of the world. Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived. Okay, what did Solomon do? Let's read about it. During Solomon's reign, godly justice prevailed in Israel. It was a time of peace, righteousness, and material wealth. Okay, what did he build, class? The temple at Jerusalem. Make sure you guys are following along. Highlight that. Solomon built the magnificent temple at Jerusalem. Okay? Solomon built the magnificent temple at Jerusalem. Make sure you highlight that. And undertook other great building projects during his reign. Okay? So, like all cities or like all kingdoms, good kingdoms must come to an end. Let's read about when his kingdom fell. All right? Ariel, can you please stand and read about the kingdom falls and put that whiteboard away?
Despite the great glory that God had allowed the Israelites to appearance, they forgot God again and fell into
Go ahead and highlight that. Okay? Highlight Judah fell into the hands of new empires that were rising in the east. But make sure you also highlight Judah, which was the southern kingdom. Okay? So under David, Solomon, and Saul, okay, the nation of Israel was united. All right? And then David did right in the sight of the Lord, so did Solomon. Saul disobeyed God, but the kingdom of Israel was united. But, like we said before, there was a cycle that Israel was known for. They were known for worshiping God, okay? And then they fell into sin. Then they fell into captivity because of the sin. Then they need someone to rescue them. And because someone rescued them, then they would worship God again. So that was kind of the cycle. Okay, please face forward. All right. Then, after Solomon died, Israel split into two. The first kingdom, the northern kingdom, was made up of 10 tribes that was still called Israel, but then the southern king was called Judah. Okay, make sure you know the southern kingdom of Judah, and you know that the northern kingdom was called Israel. Okay? Let's read that last part. Israel had forgotten God, but God had not forgotten Israel. He kept his promises to bless all the nations of the earth through the seed of Abraham and continued to watch over his people, even when they were captives in strange lands. Okay, so despite of Israel's disobedience and despite that they worshipped false gods, God still continued to bless them. Okay, because he loved them. All right, let's read about, let's kind of review. All right, who was the best known Canaanite god, which was the god of war and storms? Liviana? Baal. Baal was the Canaanite god. Did the Canaanites leave many important gifts to civilization? Ariel?
No, because they were too busy, like, worshiping false gods.
Yes, because they were too busy worshiping false gods, the Canaanites did not leave any cultural or any important gifts to civilization, okay? God chose the first leaders of the Israelites and called them, what, class? Josiah? Judges. Judges were the first leaders of Israel. Who was the first king of Israel? Adam? Saul was the first king of Israel. Okay, after Saul, after he disobeyed, who did God appoint? Landon? King David. Who was King David's son? Tristan? Solomon. Solomon built what? What did he build, Tony? What did Solomon build?
He built the huge tower.
Not a tower.
No, the temple.
The temple where, Emmeline?
The northern.
No, where was the temple, Gavin? Where was the temple that Solomon built? Jerusalem. Okay? The temple was at Jerusalem. All right? What was the northern kingdom after they split? After Solomon died, Israel split into two nations. What was the northern kingdom still called? Okay, Cameron, what was the northern kingdom still called? Huh? Who can help him out? Livy? Israel. What was the southern kingdom called? Ariel? Judah. Good. Okay, tonight for homework, you don't have any in history because we had our quiz today, but you do have homework in reading. Okay, you need to read pages 100 to 105 in your Mountain Pathway books out loud to your parents. All right, and please pass in your skill sheet 11. All right, I have Tony's and Tristan's. Okay, I do have Tony's and Tristan's. Thank you. No. skill sheet 11. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Shane. Yep. What did you do with it?
I gave it to you yesterday.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I finished it. I found it.
Thank you. Sorry? I think Mr. Coral is in charge of all of that. So if you want us to buy something, you have to ask Mr. Coral, okay?
Sunday I'll ask him. He's always happy, so maybe he'll get it too. Maybe he'll say no to you, but yes to me.
All right, class. Go ahead and pull something out for homework tonight. You can start reading your mountain pathways. Okay, boys, please be quiet. All right, and then we have some people who need to work on things at recess. Nope. Nope. Okay. Yeah? All right. Ouch. After you do your thing at recess, okay? After you do your homework at recess. Please do not question what I say. Okay, I have Tony working on skill sheet 10, Gavin finishing skill sheet 10, Cameron doing skill sheet 10. Okay, and then Adam, you need to finish skill sheet 5 in history, so please bring your history book to recess. You didn't do the whole first section. Okay, Gavin, same thing for you. Please bring your history book to recess. Shane, please bring your history book to recess. Landon, please bring your history book to recess. Okay, and Cameron, please bring your history book to recess. You guys turned it in with some words, but you didn't complete the entire thing. Nope, you just have to do skill sheet number 10, because I did not. Oh, you just gave it, but you didn't even do it. So you just turned it in today.